Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to the channel for another quick update video. So I did my patch notes review yesterday, and that's where most of the important stuff is, but at the start of the show that I was recording patch notes, so I didn't actually watch, they revealed sort of, not really a roadmap for the future of Smite 2, but a lot of stuff that they're going to be working on in the future, like gods and systems, game modes, patch cycles, all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I think it's definitely worth talking about if you guys haven't seen the show, to keep you guys updated on it. So yeah, let's just jump right in.
Anyway, I really want to talk about where we're going with Smite 2, and
there's a lot of change on the way.
There's a lot of change on the way, and I know that like when something like this happens, there's a lot of concern about like, you know, who's even still there. You know, are there enough people to keep working on the game?
Yeah.
And you know, we have I think a very aggressive, very good schedule that will hopefully address a lot of your concerns. So
hopefully, yeah.
So I'm gonna go through that now, and I apologize. I'm looking at.
Yeah, in regards to like, is there enough people to still be working on Smite 2? I think there absolutely is. They've said that, you know, the team is still many times larger than Smite 1's team was at its inception, and still, I believe they said larger than Smite 1's dev team for the vast majority of Smite 1's life cycle, other than a specific period after COVID where they hired a bunch of remote devs. And like, obviously, everyone was playing games and stuff like that. Smite hit its absolute all-time peak player count just after COVID, so naturally they had more devs, they were working on more stuff. But yeah, the team for Smite 2 is absolutely more than large enough to be able to still develop and work on the game.
What we've gathered is that given the state of the game right now, there's kind of 4 key issues facing Smite 2. There's not enough content. Specifically, there are not enough gods.
I hear that one a lot, yeah.
There's not enough quality, right? Ranging from some core gameplay feel issues to specific bugs to matchmaking. It's one that comes up a lot, yeah. Right? Number 3 is that, you know, we're not moving fast enough to address these things, and you don't feel like the game's improving quickly enough. And number 4 is that, you know, we're not talking to you enough about the things that we are doing to improve the game and making you feel and believe that we are addressing these things. So today I want to...
Yeah, so lack of content is definitely the most major one there. That's people's massive major complaint about the game, to be honest. You know, these other things like, you know, they're not really communicating what they're doing enough to us. That we can live without that as long as what's being delivered is good. And I think what's being delivered is pretty good. It's just really, as he said, there isn't enough content in the game at the moment, specifically gods, but like game modes and systems and all this kind of stuff. Like a lot of it's just not there, and it feels very bare bones right now. It feels like you're going in, you've got your selection of about 25 gods, only about 12 of which are actually like supremely viable, and the rest are kind of like you're trolling if you pick them. And then like as soon as you're done with your game, there's no post-match stats. You go straight back to a home screen that's barren and bare. There's like this isn't really that important, but there's no skins, there's no store page, there's no like learn pages, there's none of this stuff that's in Smite 1. So the game really does just feel quite bare bones at the moment. So I think it's that lack of content that is really like the big one.
What exactly is changing with enough preamble, because I can ramble for forever.
Yeah, let's get into the meat.
Okay, so there's not enough content. We have recently reworked our schedule
pretty majorly, yeah.
Pretty majorly, with the aim of, currently there are 25 games or 25 gods in Smite 2.
25 games.
Our goal is to effectively double that roster by January. So we're hoping to get to...
Yeah, so they've shared this with us before this patch show as ambassadors. I know a little bit more about this roadmap than they'll be revealing here. I'm obviously only going to talk about what they reveal publicly here. But there's some very exciting stuff there. There's a lot of stuff that they mentioned specifically to us that they haven't mentioned in this show because they don't want to reveal it and say this is exactly what's coming, and then things might change. But yeah, 50 gods by January is something they mentioned to us, and that's incredibly, incredibly exciting because I was feeling when we're not going to get to that point. You know, they said, I believe in their initial roadmap, like 50 gods before free to play. So that is basically, it seems like the game's going to be going free to play in January. That makes sense. Probably like at the Vegas land, they'll do this big announcement. There'll be a big drop of gods, and then they'll say the game's going free to play. And I was definitely feeling like we were going to get there at that point, because if they were continuing to do 2 gods every 3 weeks, there's probably only about 3, 4 probably about four or five maybe patches in between now and the Vegas line in January. And, that's only going to be adding like 10 gods or something like that if they continue doing 2 per patch. So clearly they're going to be ramping it up massively, because if they were only going to add 10 gods in those patches, there's a massive gap of like 15 more gods that they will have to add at some point during that. So yeah, it seemed like we really weren't on track to get to that 50 god mark by free-to-play launch, assuming free-to-play launches in January. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but it seems like it's all lining up, with the Vegas LAN, with there being 50 gods in the game by that point now. So yeah, that's super exciting. Getting some more variety in the game is going to be great. They also mentioned a little bit later on about like what specific gods are coming. We'll get to that in a second.
Around 50 gods by January. And there are a lot of kind of the heavy hitter gods that you've told us should be there from the start on that list. Like Ra and Poseidon and Thor and Khepri and
there you go.
Yada yada, right?
So yeah, I made a video very recently about like what everyone thinks the gods coming to Smite 2 should be. It seems either Hi-Rez were already in tune with it a little bit and they've already been working on these gods, or they've had a look at like that kind of video and other videos and tweets and stuff suggesting what gods should be coming, and they're definitely adjusting the formula according to that. Because as it says here, Thor, Poseidon, Ra, Khepri, 4 of the, I believe the 4 highest gods literally on the video that I made from the community on that survey. So that's really exciting to see. I can't wait to play Thor, dude. Ra, Poseidon, Khepri, yeah, whatever. I'll probably play him a little bit. I can't wait to play Thor, though.
And so our entire dev, content team has been pivoted to working on gods. A lot of our programming and design teams have been pivoted to working on how do we make this happen. So we're going to be moving a lot faster to get more gods into the game.
It's very important.
I want to give the little disclaimer that even though we're being more nimble, we can't just flip on a switch overnight, right? So, and things have to go through the pipe at different phases before we can get them into the game. So, this update, there are 2 gods in it. There are Baron Samedi and Yamoja.
Yep. So yeah, we know.
So
this.
You're going to be, we're going to be showing you those in a minute. And then the next update will also have 2 gods. And then after that update is when you'll start seeing a faster pace of gods coming out.
Yeah. Interesting. So that's going to be an absolute rapid fire within like the last month or 2 leading up to Vegas then. Because this patch went live on October 3rd. And therefore, the next patch will go live 21 days from that on October 24th. That will be 2 gods as well. And then the next patch after that will be 3 weeks, so the 14th of November. So 14th of November is when like the accelerated god cycle is really going to launch, because this patch has 2 gods, the patch after has 2 gods. And then that patch on November 14th is when they're really going to accelerate things. So between November 14th and probably around January 14th or so, whatever the Vegas line is going to be, that's like 2 months, and they're going to add, 4 gods plus the 25 that we have, 29. They're going to be adding 21 gods in about 2 months. That's kind of crazy, dude. I'm very excited for when that actually starts happening.
Once we get to 50 or so, we're probably going to slow back down to like 2 or 3 every 3 weeks. It's kind of a rough cadence for you guys to keep in mind. Just because we'll be at a point where we want to do some gods that are more technically or artistically difficult for us, and we just won't be able to keep moving at that pace.
I think that makes complete sense. I think once you've got to 50, 50 is a decent size, so where there will be probably enough, or like at least a decent amount of variety in terms of what you're facing. Because at the moment with 25 gods and the fact that some of them very, very rarely get played, you just end up facing the same god like many games in a row, like the same pool of like 2 or 3 gods in your row like every single game. And also it seems like, these ones that are going to be coming soon, like Thor, Ra, Poseidon, Khepri, they're not going to need that many changes. They're all good designs in my opinion that maybe just need some small tweaks to make them more fun, or like some tweaks to make them feel good with the strength and int system or whatever. So they're really not going to need too much, but as you get a lot of those core fundamentally great designs in the game and you start getting towards some of the more either problematic designs like Bakasura and Freya and stuff like that, or you get to some of the designs that are very old and could probably use some kit changes like, I don't know, Jing Chen or whatever. I'm just pulling examples out of the top of my head, but yeah, as you get to those gods that are going to need more significant changes, be that to make them more fun or to make them more balanced, you're definitely going to need a lot more time on those gods, and I hope they do take the time with those gods, because I would much rather see like Freya, Bakasura, and Nox drop in different patches but with complete reworks than them all drop in the same patch with no changes and ruin the game again like they did in Smite 1.
Yeah.
I would love it if we could just, get all the gods done in 6 months. That'd be great. But that's not feasible once we get through this initial push to 50. So, but our goal is to double the god roster to 50 by January. And January is an important month to us, just kind of as a little bit of context, because we kind of always see January as a new season moment for Smite and Smite 2, and a time when we ship bigger changes to, shake up Conquest and, all that kind of stuff. And there's some other bigger systems that we're kind of planning for January right now that I don't want to talk about yet.
I'm interested in whether there's going to be like a Smite 1 new like year 12 season patch or not. I don't think they mentioned that here, and with the fact that they're trying to, get probably what will be about 20 gods into the game between November and January into Smite 2, and also they'll have the Vegas LAN and probably some major changes coming to Smite 2. I highly doubt there will be like a major year 12 patch for Smite 1, but it could be cool if they did like some small things, maybe like one new objective and like a rework of the geometry or something. Just for the people that are still interested in Smite 1, because there are still a lot of people like that.
Okay, number 2. There's not enough quality. So we are, in addition to doing all these gods, we're focusing more on the quality of the game. We currently have 3 or 4 programmers, depending on the week, dedicated specifically to improving the core game quality going forward, fixing bugs and core feels issues, not adding new features. We also have a separate engineer who started this week, dedicated solely to improving the matchmaking algorithm and whatnot.
Good. Nice.
So we should be seeing matchmaking improvements, not when CA3 launches, which I'm going to talk about that in a second, but during the CA3 update, we should see especially ranked matchmaking updates that take into account SR as a matchmaking factor.
Yeah, this is good. Matchmaking, I've said it before in previous videos, this is like one of the major problems facing Smite 2 at the moment. It kind of impacts the entire game, there can be a variety of gods, there can be a variety of balance, balance can be good or can be bad, there can be a good variety of gods or a bad variety of gods, there can be cool items or bad items, but honestly, none of that really matters if every single one of your games is like diamond players facing off against amber players. It's just not going to go very well in terms of fun for everyone involved. So yeah, getting the matchmaking working correctly is extremely important, because right now Smite 2's matchmaking is worse than I feel like Smite 1's matchmaking ever was, and definitely worse than it was at like its peak.
The last thing I want to say specifically on quality, and I know it's kind of a light one, but it's hard to go into too much detail in that, other than we understand it's an issue and we're fixing it. Specifically on gameplay feels things. There's a lot of kind of these recurring things that we hear from the community about like basic attacks don't feel good, or hitting certain abilities doesn't feel satisfying, right? And we want to hear more of that feedback about what's not good about the core game in your experience. And we would love to get as specific of feedback as we can from you.
Yeah, so small stuff like that, stuff like, do like Anher's basic attacks not feel right. I've been providing this feedback in the Ambassador Discord as well. Like I've given feedback about like Anher and Cernanos' autos don't feel right, like Bologna, Odin and Chak's autos don't feel right to me either. Susanoo's ultimate feels extremely unimpactful compared to how it does in Smite 1. That kind of stuff. So any of you that do provide that kind of feedback to the team is going to be very useful in improving this core like game feel, nebulous term that everyone has, because it's extremely hard to pin down. If you don't know how people are experiencing it and what the problem is, you're never going to be able to get it fixed. It's not something as simple as like adding new items or adding new gods. That's a simple thing to do. Well, it's not technically simple, but it's like fundamentally simple to just say let's add more gods. But it's not fundamentally simple to say let's fix the core game feel. It takes a lot of specific knowledge on what's wrong to actually fix that. So definitely give you feedback.
Cool. Point number 3 is that we're not moving fast enough, right? We're going to be moving faster. I think especially in an alpha, it sucks to think that you are going to be playing with the same broken balance and the same bugs for 3 weeks until we can patch again.
Yeah.
So we're currently in the process of we're currently building a new kind of sub-team of the team specifically focused on live patches. And we're expecting that several times a week, I don't want to commit to exactly how much, but several times a week, we're going to be patching the game to fix, to do some changes to balance and to address some bugs.
Yeah.
This
is really important. This is something that I cannot believe they hadn't been doing in Smite 1 for the longest time, and it's even more crucial in Smite 2's alpha phase, where like balance can fall really out of whack very quickly, and bugs can arise that completely break the game very quickly. This is extremely important. It just really sucks if there's like a massive game-breaking bug with like your main character, or there's like something that's ridiculously unbalanced to where you can't play anything else, and you have to wait 3 weeks for a patch. Like, that absolutely sucks, and if that can get fixed within a few days in one of these hotfix patches, it's going to make the game so much more playable, like 24/7.
Okay, last thing from my really overly long preamble. I'm sorry, I'm talking way too long, which is kind of amusing because my next point is that we're not talking to you enough. Sorry, that was totally unplanned. So, you know, in a alpha period like this, it's really important that it's not just enough that we're working on all these things behind the scenes and we're fixing them and we have a plan and yada, yada, yada. We need to be more actively engaged with you, the community, because you're the whole reason why we're making this game. I mean, I enjoy playing Smite myself, but you know, so I'm partially doing it for myself, I guess, but mostly it's for the community, right? So Isaiah and I are going to be starting a new show. So 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I think at 2 p.m. I don't remember what time now. I didn't write it down. I'm sure we'll tweet about it. But Isaiah and I are going to do a show about an hour long, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, specifically just to talk about like community issues, what we're seeing, except for 1 o'clock, says the person in my ear. To take feedback, to address your questions, to talk about major issues in the community, and also to bring on...
So yeah, this is good. I imagine probably not a lot of people will watch this, but you know, the hardcore people will. Maybe I'll cover them if they end up being specifically interesting in terms of like what they're planning and what they're fixing. But yeah, this is good to just have out there. So, you know, if someone comes into my chat and says like, oh, what's going on with this? I can say, oh, they've talked about it on the show. So yeah, I think it's good as well.
Just to summarize, things that I just talked about, you know, we're going to be trying to ship 50 gods by January, which is twice what we have right now. We're focusing more on quality. We have more developers focused just on fixing the quality and not working on new features, including matchmaking and bugs and whatnot. We're going to be doing more regular updates. So we'll still be doing the major updates every 3 weeks with new gods and whatnot. But then between updates, we'll have very regular patches with balance and bug fixing. And last, we're going to be doing this not update show, this kind of just like sit and talk with the dev show 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with myself and Isaiah and guests who are more interesting than me. That's enough of a preamble because we have a lot of exciting things to talk about.
Right, so yeah, there you go. Just thought I would keep you guys updated on this stuff because it wasn't in the main patch notes, so it wasn't in the video that I made yesterday when the news dropped about the patch. And there's definitely some very interesting stuff here. Obviously, the main thing is 50 gods by January. That's absolutely huge. And he also mentioned a few of the gods that are coming, like Thor, Ra, Poseidon, Kepri as like 4 of the gods that you mentioned that are coming, which are all really good picks in my opinion. So hopefully we're going to be getting way more gods and way better picks for those gods, and it will improve the game massively. So that's like the major thing, but obviously there's like quality improvements, more frequent patches, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just thought I'd keep you guys posted on this sort of like not really a roadmap that they've produced, but sort of like a semi roadmap for the future of Smite 2 going towards January. They've got more stuff planned than this as well that they've shared with ambassadors that I can't talk about, but that's what they've talked about publicly for now. It's very exciting stuff. The roadmap that they've showed us has a lot more stuff, a lot more specifics, and it's looking really, really cool. So yeah, excited for it, and I will catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.